My biggest guilty pleasure is showing someone how far their equipment can go. And the reason it gives me so much pleasure is because I swing it slower than they can. For example, some of you guys that swing the driver at 70 miles an hour, I use their piece of equipment, whether 5 years old, 10 years old, and swing it at the same speed that they do, yet my shot goes 30, 40 yards further. Well, they're more than likely going to listen to me. Okay, tiny bit faster than 70 miles an hour, but understanding these here is the key factor, and I'm going to show you a drill and tip for each one so you can get the most out of your equipment. And if you do swing your driver at 70 miles an hour, or maybe faster than 70 miles an hour, yet you're never getting 181 yards total distance, well, this is going to explain why. And for all intensive purposes, we are not using the latest and greatest. 100 pounds maximum Callaway XR. I'm using a 13.5 degree head for these slower speed drives. For some of you guys that want to know how far your drive should be going as we go to 80, 90, 100, 110 miles an hour. And the reason I'm doing it with this particular driver is as we get faster, I'm able to manipulate the club at impact to still get reasonable distance. And by no means am I saying head loft, head type, shafts don't matter, because I'm using very unusual swings to get the ball to go as far as it is. It's just having the level of understanding of your angle attack, your swing path, your club face, hitting the ball out of the middle, and then ultimately your club head speed that gives all important optimal distance for your golf game. But the biggest way I win over clients is by getting them to swing potentially slower than they were at the start of the session, get more ball speed with their old equipment, and by the combination of two, get more consistency because they're not swinging out of their boots. And ultimately, because we have direct feedback from those impact factors, swing by swing, they get to see the changes in real time. And after watching this video, you won't want to buy a new driver, or if you do, because you've gone through this whole process, you're in a great position to get the most out of that new driver, as you've essentially ticked every box possible to get the most out of your old one. Okay, let's rattle these off. How far should your driver be going if you know your club head speed? 80 miles an hour. 80.4, we're on the money. Is the spin rate good? 2,500, round about right. We're now getting up to the 200-yard mark. 80 miles an hour, efficiency pretty good, considering the ball speed we created. Backspin still around the 2,400 mark, which is kind of where we want it. Distance 196. Let's go to 90. Oh, it's a good hit. 91.6. I don't think I could probably hit that much better. 242 yards. Now, 90 miles an hour is probably a good average point for a lot of you guys watching this video of whereabouts your swing speed is. And when it comes to all impact factors, club face, swing path, angle attack, centeredness of strike, the last one that I ever work on to increase someone's distance is club head speed. Because unless you've ticked the other four, adding any more speed, whether it's a lighter shaft, longer shaft, your technique, doesn't necessarily mean more distance. Still using the 13.5 Light Flex 5.0 hazardous shaft, 100 mile an hour. We should get around 260 from this. Oh, spin stays down, 99. That's as good as I could probably get it in terms of closeness. Bit too much spin, which is probably a good thing. Let me explain. Because if you're not getting 1.4 efficiency, i.e. the amount of ball speed translated from club head speed, so as you can see here, 99, 142. If that was 100 and perfect efficiency, we'd see 150 miles an hour ball speed, i.e. the maximum any driver out on the market, new or old, can produce. So before we worry about this, which we'll talk about later in the video, What can you do to make this better? Let's talk club face and swing path. They're obviously the main culprits. Anytime you glance the golf ball, i.e. come across it out to in or even in to out, you're not going to relay as much ball speed to that ball for the amount of club head speed. And for argument's sake, we're going to stay at 100 miles an hour. I'm going to swing this as close to 100 miles an hour as I can, but we're going to severely come across it, i.e. over the top. 102. So we swung it faster, and that's important because I want you to see the efficiency and obviously how far the ball's gone. So we've swung that driver faster, and there's a few key elements. Number one, shot shape. And when it comes to golf, straight line is the most efficient way of getting a ball to a target, not only for consistency, but let's be honest, when it comes to distance. We swung it faster, 102 miles an hour. We got less ball speed than the previous one, not much. And as you can see, efficiency is lower. However, here's something that's important. When you come over the top, or let's say out to in, i.e. your club path is traveling this way, typically it's going to cause you to hit down on it. Not only that, you're going to close your club face like this, so it starts enough left to come back in, meaning your launch angle drops and your backspin increases, basically resulting in 40 yards worth of difference. Therefore, if your drive looks a bit more like this, and you, for whatever reason, can't get the driver to go more than 220 yards, no matter how fast you swing it, is because we need to increase your launch angle and ultimately straighten this boy out and get this on the up. There's two things that we want to change without me being there to help you. And that's a big thing when I give any lesson. I want them to go away with confidence on the driving range, be able to practice what I've shown them. Even if they hit bad shots, ultimately they're making their technique better. We need to change the angle of attack, i.e. the driver going up at impact. And number two, we want to change the swing path, because any glancing of this or this ultimately means you're not going to go through with your laces and create the most ball speed that we want. By simply putting the head cover on the ground or even using an alignment stick to get a reference point, we're going to start off small. And ultimately, because we want to learn to hit up on the ball, and I advise using your old driver to test this on the driving range, let's tee that ball up. Let's get used to the idea of this driver going this way at impact while still going up through the golf ball. Oh, 101. Okay, we're getting good at calling out the yardages. 252 yards. 1 mile an hour slower than the previous one. Efficiency is up, but notice how our launch angle has increased. Now, sadly, if it was that easy by putting something in your way and putting the tee really high, everyone would be able to do it. I highly rate breaking this swing down and getting used to just doing some practice drills, either at home, in the garden, something on your left-hand side, get your shoulders pointing up and out to the right-hand side, and get used to this. Because ultimately, just teeing the ball high doesn't help us get less spin. We need to practice this movement right here. We're not adding loft, we're de-lofting whilst getting that club head to travel up. We're looking to take that spin loft angle down. As you can see from the numbers here, I can virtually take any driver over the last 10 years with whatever shaft and whatever loft or whatever head within reason and still get relatively low spin. The ball launched at around 15 degrees. My angle of attack is on the up by 7, which, trust me, took a lot of practice. And to be perfectly honest, isn't that useful when it comes to consistent drives. This is 13.5 at address, meaning that if I'm hitting on the up by 7 and still getting a launch angle of 15, I've essentially de-lofted this 13.5 driver to around 7 degrees. Meaning you got the 7-degree angular attack, you've got a 7-degree loft at impact, or let's say 8 to get closer to that 15 degree launch angle, and that close angle, i.e. up and hardly any loft, squeezes that spin loft angle, meaning that I'm getting less spin than I should from a relatively high lofted driver at 100 miles an hour. Now, I'd be foolish to say that equipment doesn't make a difference. So we're going 9 degree, X stiff for the 110 mile an hour shot. Callaway Maverick, around about 160 pounds, I imagine, online at the moment. So not that much money, but watch the difference in terms of spin rate with the same technique. Now I've got a driver a bit close to my wheelhouse. Oh, she sounded good. Oh, I've gone way over my mark at 115 miles an hour club head speed, but we did break the 300 yarder. Meaning a 150 pound driver, 160 pound driver, X-diff shaft, 9 degree, can comfortably go 300 yards. You could swing it slower than that and still get 300 yards. If your ball speed is at 160 miles an hour, you've got a great swing path and club face, you could hit 300 yard drives as long as you're ticking all these boxes. Guys, thank you ever so much for watching this video. Please subscribe to the channel on the road to 100,000 subscribers. And if you want to know why you should be looking out for the worst rated drivers on the market, hit the link up here.